Chosen one, lead as if you were tempering steel. Heat, fold, cool, check the grain. Leadership here is not a podium, it is a forge. You are making conditions, not converts. Convert making manipulates tempo to create a rush. Condition making keeps tempo so truth can trust its own legs. Your sexual energy, aimed through this forge, stops behaving like a flare that demands the sky's attention and starts behaving like a lighthouse lens that keeps its beam even in fog. The feminine navigates by that reliability. She does not crash against you for thrill, she pilots toward you for harbor. Harbor is not the end of the sea, it is the place where ships become capable of longer journeys. In harbor, cargo is counted, damage is repaired, provisions are loaded. Attraction that includes harbor is attraction with a future. Hold the room by arranging its weather, not by dominating its sound. Weather is temperature, oxygen, and pressure. Warm enough for courage, clear enough for honesty, steady enough for pace. You hold temperature by refusing sarcasm, its cheap frost, and refusing flattery, its counterfeit heat. You hold oxygen by listening with a spine that can carry weight without collapsing. You hold pressure by letting silence stretch before the truth walks out, wearing something it feels beautiful in. When a space breathes like this, the oldest parts of a person stop scanning for exits and start scanning for meaning. Meaning, once found, becomes a magnet no spectacle can compete with. Practice sovereignty, so she is freed from management. Sovereignty is not stubbornness, it is stewardship of your center. You can be praised without becoming porous and challenged without becoming cruel. You are not a thermostat wired to the room's approval or panic. Because you regulate yourself, you do not recruit others to regulate you. Relief enters the moment like a tide. Relief is the solvent of pretense. Pretense dissolves, play returns. Play that is not weaponized becomes the clearest sign that desire is safe. People who can play without rescuing or performing are people who can love without debt. Keep curiosity warm and precise. Cold curiosity interrogates to gather leverage. Warm curiosity explores to gather wonder. Precision protects. You ask questions that are doors, not drills. You remember the first time she spoke a truth that trembled, and you hold the room steady in case it wants to return. You notice when her no arrives without armor, and you honor it without sermon. Slowly, complexity stops needing camouflage. When complexity is safe, beauty gets bolder. Attraction that includes the whole person stops running out of road. There are more miles to see, not fewer. Make repair a daily liturgy. You do not save it for disasters because you do not need disaster to prove devotion. If your tone lands rough, you sand it. If your timing is off, you reset the metronome. If your impatience knocks, you greet it with an apology that is the same size as the harm, neither smaller to escape nor larger to perform. Liturgies like this are not glamorous, but they are glorious. They turn houses into homes. Homes are where the body's vigilance clock breaks and no one misses it. The quiet you hear in such places is not emptiness. It is trust at rest. Trust at rest is louder than lust at full volume. Speak with an ethic of carpentry. Put weight where weight belongs. Do not stack easy adjectives where a single true noun will hold. Do not promise weather you cannot command. Promise the roof you will fix if weather wins. Accuracy is affection wearing boots. After a conversation with you, the floor remains. The next encounter steps onto that floor without testing with its heel. This is why your presence never needs to escalate to stay felt. Floors do not raise their voice. They carry. Carried is what desire feels like when it is finally done being dragged by adrenaline. Honor play as a sacrament of the serious. When laughter arrives, you let it irrigate the ground rather than wash the topsoil away. You avoid the kind of cleverness that scores points by making the moment small. Your humor is a bridge across ache, not a billboard in front of it. On that bridge, people cross from guarded to generous without even noticing they moved. Generosity is the parent of devotion. Devotion is the adult form of the can't stop looking that others misname. The gaze persists not because the spectacle is new, but because the soul is nourished. End with the same music you began with. Cadence matters. Land the moment with gratitude that is specific enough to be believed, with intention that is clean enough to be honored, with space that is wide enough for breath to catch up to feeling. Do not evaporate and call it mystique. Do not linger past meaning and call it romance. Close the circle so the circle can open again without confusion. Closures like this deposit confidence in the bank of next time. Interest accrues. When you appear again, at the curb, in a corridor, under bad lighting that tells the truth, eyes find you not because you are an event, but because you are a place. Places do not need to be remembered. They are returned to. Keep purpose as ballast so gravity never becomes greed. You report your power to something larger than appetite, service, craft, faith, the common good, and that allegiance is legible even in the way you carry groceries, keep appointments, bless interruptions, and hold silence. Legibility is a mercy the body recognizes. Recognition arrives as orientation. Orientation feels like a compass rose at the bottom right of the map. North, drawn in purpose; east, warmed by kindness; south, steadied by edges; west, shaded by rest. In a world of broken compasses, the instrument you keep is irresistible. The chosen ones are not followed because they are dazzling. They are followed because they are directional. And direction is what desire has been starving for while pretending to want fireworks. Chosen one, there comes a point when rumor runs out of vocabulary and the body keeps the story alive without language. The noisy claims about how they can't stop drooling are crude subtitles for a subtler film playing beneath the skin. In truth, what spills toward you is a readiness to receive. Salivation as biology's quiet bell announcing that nourishment is near. You have become a table set before the appetite arrives, a kitchen where flame and patience have made peace. The feminine feels this before she can think it, because you have arranged your energy the way a gardener trains a living vine along a trellis. Not to restrict its life, but to aim it toward fruit. Your trellis is made from vows, kept times, clean motives, chosen pace, and those vows create a microclimate around you. In that air, her nervous system does what forests do after rain. It exhales. She does not orbit you in a trance. She orients to you in trust, and trust is the first sweetness the tongue remembers when it stops bracing. You cultivate a magnetosphere that does not glitter but protects. Meteors of chaos burn up at the edges because your field is coherent. Coherence is not stiffness. It is a flexible strength that remembers what it serves. You serve meaning, not momentum. Your steps arrive like honest punctuation, where a period is needed. You stop, where a comma will keep the breath humane. You pause, where an M- will let wonder finish its thought. You give it room. It is not performative restraint. It is musicality. She hears tempo in your posture, cadence in the way you choose silence over spectacle, melody in the way your attention refuses to turn a person into content. In that music, her body drops its drum of vigilance and finally dances on the 2 feet of curiosity and consent. You are a caretaker of thresholds. Doorways are holy because they allow choices to remain choices, and you refuse to bulldoze them under the pretense of passion. Passion without permission is panic with a costume. You have no use for it. Instead, you usher like a porter who knows that a door belongs to the one who must step through it. You stand near enough to be felt and far enough to be free, and you do both with the unhurried confidence of someone who has already eaten. Hunger that has been rightly fed does not hustle. It blesses. Blessing does not ask the moment to purchase an outcome. It asks the truth to pick its own pace. That pace becomes the very path of desire, walkable, breathable, wide enough for 2 sovereignties to travel without bumping shoulders. Your magnetism is mycelial. What the world sees, those sudden glances that bloom like luminous caps after rain, the soft parting of shoulders in crowded rooms, the "how did she end up next to him again?" is only the fruiting body. The real work is the underground web you've patiently grown, disciplines that move without cameras, refusals that keep your yes strong, prayers that keep your power honest, friendships that keep your romance human, craft that keeps your ego humble. The network is what carries water and wisdom beneath the surface. When conditions are right, timing gentle, safety steady, humor clean, the fruit appears. Outsiders mistake it for magic. Insiders call it what it is. The inevitable flowering of an ecosystem that has learned how to feed itself without stealing. There is a tactile charity in your presence. You hold a sentence the way a potter holds wet clay, firm enough to give it shape, gentle enough not to thin it where it should be strong. You carry another's memory the way a beekeeper carries a frame, steady, upright, aware of what lives there. You laugh without weaponry. You listen without a ledger. These ordinary mercies are how bodies decide that nearness will not invoice them later. The decision is physical before it is philosophical. Shoulders measure down, breath measures deep, eyes measure steady. Then, and only then, does the heart venture a fuller yes. The yes is not spectacle. It is a return to appetite after famine. No wonder the clumsy rumor reaches for the tongue to explain it. What else can name a future that finally smells like bread? You keep wonder awake after knowledge arrives. Familiarity in you does not ossify into control. It matures into fluency. Fluency notices the first time her voice lands without wobble and treats it like sunrise. It remembers where grief asked for dim light and does not yank open every blind just because the clock says morning. It catches the brief flash of mischief in someone who forgot they were allowed to play and widens the field so play can run. By this, you prove that depth does not require drama and that closeness does not require compromise. The body reads proof better than promises. Proof becomes preference. Preference becomes the quiet, repeated turn of the head whenever you enter, as reliable as sunflowers tracking noon. Chosen one, the deeper draw is not a surge, it is an inheritance. What she receives in your company is not merely attention but a way, an interior craft for holding heat without harm. Desire around you graduates from spark to stewardship. A spark begs for tinder, or it dies. Stewardship builds a hearth and keeps wood dry for years. Your sexual energy has stopped auditioning to be noticed. It has learned to host what is true. Hosting is more than hospitality. It is governance of conditions. You keep the room at a temperature where courage germinates, the pace at a rhythm where comprehension can keep up, the edges clean enough that intimacy cannot counterfeit itself. In such governance, people stop performing and start participating. Participation is what the rumor fails to name when it says they cannot look away. The eyes are not trapped, they are engaged. They are working, choosing, learning, savoring, because the environment lets them be whole while they want. You think in textiles, whether you know it or not. Your principles are the warp, strong, vertical, unbending in their direction. Reverence, truthfulness, protection, play. Your choices are the weft, horizontal lines that travel day by day. This tone instead of that one, this boundary placed with warmth, this apology offered at the right altitude, this goodbye landed like a soft door. The shuttle between them is your breath. With each pass, the cloth strengthens. In time, it can be cut and sewn into a shelter big enough for weather. She feels that fabric when you speak with accuracy that does not abrade, when you stay, when silence asks for a friend, when you leave without smudge. Fabric like that is why the body lingers. It is warm without being heavy, light without being thin. It is what people mean when they say a presence is a good hang, but what they actually mean is that the soul doesn't have to wear armor to enjoy itself. You are a steward of velocity. Attraction loves to sprint itself into injury and then call the limp romance. You practice cadence, the measured stride that keeps wonder oxygenated across miles. Cadence begins in how you end. Endings for you are stitches, not escapes. You say thank you with nouns, not fog. You place intention without annexing the future. You let pace be slow enough that the spirit can catch up to the heart. The seam holds. The next meeting inherits tensile strength from that seam. Inheritance is why the sight of you feels like continuity rather than gamble. Continuity is never boring to those who have had to rebuild after collapses. It is relief in a world where so much beautiful breaks for lack of rhythm. You practice sovereignty so no one has to practice management around you. Sovereignty is not posture. It is peace with your place. Praise does not bloat you. Critique does not shatter you. Because your center is not for sale, you do not ask others to spend themselves buying it for you. A sovereign man is expensive to manipulate and easy to trust. In his orbit, vigilance retires and curiosity clocks in. Curiosity that is not a covert extraction becomes wonder. Wonder without debt becomes devotion. Devotion is the adult form of what onlookers mislabel as obsession. It is not the stare of captivity, it is the gaze of belonging. Your language is architectural. You do not ignite fireworks to win the sky for a minute. You set foundation so meaning can stand when weather tests it. When you compliment, you do not spray confetti, you set a cornerstone. I saw the courage that tipped that decision toward truth. I saw the boundary that kept tenderness from performing itself to death. I saw the playfulness that returned when the air got honest. Cornerstones change posture. Posture changes options. Options change futures. Words that change futures are remembered by bodies. Later, under fluorescent light where poetry goes to nap, her cells will still prefer the gravity you carry. Preference is not trance, it is training. The more a body experiences clean gravity, the more it will choose it. You convert play from disguise into sacrament. Play in tired rooms is camouflage for fear. Play in your field is celebration of safety. Your humor irrigates, it does not erode. It crosses from ache to ease without mocking either bank. The effect is hygiene for the spirit. Clean joy is so rare in adult spaces that bystanders assume hypnosis when they see it. In truth, it is just dignity learning how to laugh again. Laughter that does not wound is honey for trust. Trust that tastes honey keeps returning to the hive. All of this is powered by ordinary devotions you do not broadcast. Sleep that prevents sharpness from masquerading as wit. Work that keeps neediness from dressing up as charm. Prayer that refuses to outsource conscience to convenience. Solitude that seasons you so crowds cannot dilute you. Service that keeps the mirror from becoming your altar. These are the unphotogenic habits that perfume the air around you with the quiet fragrance of enough. Enough is irresistible. It is the opposite of hunger's hucksterism. Enough says, I am here to give what is mine to give and to guard what is ours to guard. In that sentence, desire stops bargaining and starts building. So the gaze returns, not because you have learned tricks, but because you have learned custody. The chosen ones do not hypnotize, they harmonize. They tune the room to a key the heart remembers from a truer country. When that key is struck, the tongue misnames it, the gossip misquotes it, but the body knows. It lifts its face, loosens its hands, and walks forward, not captive, not conquered, simply and profoundly willing. Chosen one, the word on the street says they can't stop drooling, but what the spirit knows is that hunger has finally met hope, and hope has found a home. Your presence has been practicing hospitality so long that it wears it like skin, not a performance, but a climate. You have turned heat into welcome and welcome into wisdom. This is why the gaze returns. The body recognizes a place where it can remain fully itself while wanting fully, a place where appetite does not need camouflage or apology. You have labored quietly and repeatedly to make your warmth safe, and safety is the rarest spice. When it is in the air, every honest thing tastes brighter. Language tries to chase this and stumbles. It reaches for exaggeration to name a sensation born from careful balance. Under the clamor is something measured, your cadence. You have joined pulse to purpose, breath to benevolence, power to patience. The feminine reads this in the smallest cues, the way you land a word and leave space for its echo, the way you notice the shy courage in someone's ordinary sentence and let it lead, the way your stillness does not punish silence but invites it to ripen. This is not a trick, it is a sacrament of attention. Where attention becomes sacrament, desire stops bargaining for scraps and begins sitting at the table as a rightful guest. You have learned over many seasons to treat thresholds like altars. A doorway is not a conquest to be charged, it is a choice to be honored. You stand at those places with the calm of a porter who knows the door belongs to the one who steps through it. Your nearness does not erase her autonomy, it tunes it. The tuning is subtle and immediate. It says with no words at all, we will not spend more than we can bless, we will not promise more than we can keep, we will not confuse momentum with meaning. In that tuning, velocity becomes virtue. Pace protects beauty from panic. Trust grows like ivy, slow, sure, covering what needs covering without strangling what needs to breathe. You have permitted absence to do honest work. Not the manipulative absence of a disappearing act, but the generative absence of a sunrise waiting just below the horizon. You leave well so you can arrive true. In your wake, the air is clearer than you found it, and clarity is the seed of anticipation. The next sighting, be it under a tired ceiling light or on a street rinsed by rain, inherits the cleanliness of your last goodbye. Memory does not have to heal before it can enjoy. It is free to bless. In that freedom, the eyes look up without instruction, the shoulders measure down without decision, and the heart says yes without suspense. Your words have become carpenters who respect the grain. You no longer ask sentences to do the job of character. You let character do the heavy lifting and let words carry finish, not load. The result is structural, not theatrical. Accuracy replaces flattery. Benediction replaces branding. When you name beauty, you do it as one who intends to help it endure, not as a collector seeking credit. When you name boundary, you do it as one who loves the art within the frame, not as a critic seeking control. This way of speaking leaves rooms standing after you exit. Left standing, rooms become places of return. Return is the unglamorous miracle behind every rumor of magnetism that lasts. You have converted charm into culture. Charm can be borrowed. Culture must be built. You built by refusing to make anyone pay with pieces of themselves for the privilege of your glow. You built by keeping friendship close enough to correct you, craft near enough to humble you, solitude steady enough to season you, and service real enough to dethrone you. Culture like this has a scent. Cedar and bread and rain. It lingers on your coat and moves ahead of your footsteps. People catch it without knowing why they breathe deeper. The feminine knows, even when she cannot say it yet. She recognizes provision in a world of extraction, coherence in a world of costume, reverence in a world of rush. She is not hypnotized. She is home. Hold fast to the truth that power is at its most persuasive when it has nothing to prove. Your strength, made conversational by tenderness, becomes shelter instead of shadow. Shelter quiets vigilance, and vigilance at rest gives curiosity a key. Curiosity, once welcomed, invites play to come out from behind its masks, invites grief to speak in its true voice, invites desire to be intelligent without becoming cold. You are not orchestrating this, you are officiating it. You keep the vows that make such gatherings lawful in the soul. We will bless the slow. We will honor the edge. We will repair without theater. We will laugh without knives. We will close what we open so beginning can remain a holy word. This is the spiritual preparation that undergirds your allure. The willingness to be a place rather than a pose. Poses photograph, places feed. You have chosen the humiliation and holiness of feeding. It requires repetition. It requires the kind of patience that seasons fire until it cooks evenly. It requires a devotion to presence that refuses to monetize nearness. And because you keep choosing this, the rumor continues in its clumsy tongue while the spirit keeps translating accurately. Here is a man whose heat does not demand payment in pieces of me. Here is a man whose light does not blind my honest shadows. Here is a man who makes my yes wiser and my no kinder. The chosen ones are recognized by precisely this translation. They do not collect admirers. They collect wholeness wherever they go. Chosen one, let endurance be your final teacher. Attraction that cannot survive Tuesday is spectacle. Attraction that can cook dinner, make amends, keep a promise, and pray before bed is a path. You are not curating moments, you are building a way. The way you build is with small, stubborn devotions that never trend. Sleeping enough to be gentle, working enough to be humble, moving enough to be present, studying enough to be useful, serving enough to stay human, and worshiping enough to remember that all the brightness you carry is borrowed light. These are not slogans. They are the invisible scaffolds that hold up the visible ease. Without them, even the most luminous presence becomes a collapsing stage. With them, even in ordinary light, your presence remains a place people trust. There is an inheritance at stake. The atmosphere you keep will be remembered in bodies long after words are forgotten. You are writing liturgies into muscle memory. How it feels when a man's attention is a sanctuary, not a searchlight. How it feels when a boundary is a promise, not a punishment. How it feels when humor returns dignity rather than renting it. How it feels when endings are stitches, not escapes. These are the bodily psalms of people who met you and left more whole. The rumor will always trail behind struggling for adjectives, but the inheritance will move ahead as posture. Heads held, breath steady, choices clean. This is the quiet revolution the chosen ones lead. So keep practicing the ethics of exit that make entrances honest. Land the moment with humility that does not shrink and clarity that does not coerce. Speak gratitude that fits like a well-cut coat. Name intention that respects both sovereignties. Bless time by refusing to hoard it or rush it. When you go, let the room stay ordered enough that laughter can continue without you, quiet can deepen without you, and the sacred can be felt as something larger than the two of you. Departures like these teach memory to bless. Blessed memory becomes holy anticipation. Holy anticipation is a magnet made of peace. Guard your sovereignty so no one has to manage you to love you. Sovereignty is the refusal to rent your center to applause or anxiety. When celebrated, you stay porous to praise without letting it perforate your purpose. When challenged, you stay precise without letting precision turn into punishment. The result is legibility. Legibility is mercy. Mercy frees her body from interpreting your weather and returns it to receiving what is true. Received truth needs no spectacle to stay bright. It needs only stewardship. Stewardship in your hands looks like the daily refusal to let power outsource reverence, to let desire outsource dignity, to let charisma outsource character. Keep refusing. Each refusal lays another brick in the road the future will thank you for. Let your voice remain architectural. Do not auction it off to the highest urgency. Keep its timbre humane and its accuracy kind. When you bless something you would help carry. When you correct something you are willing to repair. When you invite something you can protect. This alignment turns speech into shelter. Under shelter, the nervous system stops hoarding and starts hosting. Hosting is the soul's way of saying yes with integrity. The yes that follows is not a fever, it is a lit candle. Candles do not shout, they make space visible. They make faces kind. Continue apprenticing yourself to play. Not the distraction dressed up as delight, but the holy play that arises when fear is not steering. Play is how the heart confirms it has oxygen to spare. Make room for it as an elder makes room for children in a serious house. Let it move the furniture of mood without breaking the architecture of meaning. The more play learns to live with truth, the less either will ask for custody of the room. They will share it. Shared rooms outlast storms. In such rooms, desire remains young without becoming reckless, and wisdom remains old without becoming brittle. Remember that absence, rightly practiced, becomes a servant of presence. Your days away should do the work of gathering, not gambling. Gathering patience, gathering usefulness, gathering clarity, gathering gratitude, so that your return brings something more than hunger. When you appear again at the edge of a doorway or the bend in a hallway, let what arrives be a restocked pantry, not an empty mouth. Bodies can feel the difference. One demands, the other provides. One drains, the other pours. The gaze that lingers for the latter is not enthralled, it is entrusted. Keep purpose as ballast, so gravity never becomes greed. Purpose answers the oldest temptation of magnetism, to collect rather than cultivate, with a simple vow: I am here to multiply wholeness. Multiplying wholeness looks like amplifying courage when it is small, protecting boundaries when they are new, dignifying vulnerability when it appears unannounced, and celebrating strength when it stays soft. It looks like turning down opportunities that would spend what you cannot replenish. It looks like saying yes to work that will never be seen and no to drama that will never be satisfied. Purpose like this is audible in your footsteps. Floors know when weight is carried with care. People do too. Finally, close your day with the same reverence that opened it. Return your light to its source. Thank the hours for what they revealed and forgive them for what they withheld. Lay down the tools that are not yours to carry through sleep. Bless the faces you encountered, especially the ones that turn toward you with that unguarded honesty the rumor translates badly and the spirit translates well. And bless your own body for having held a standard without becoming a statue, for having remained warm without becoming wildfire, for having loved without letting ownership speak out of turn. Sleep like a man who has chosen to be a place. Wake like a man who will choose it again. This is how the story keeps telling itself without ever needing spectacle. By a life that becomes shelter on purpose, by a heat that learns governance, by a voice that builds rather than burns, by departures that prepare arrivals, by devotion that outlives novelty. Then the gaze will keep finding you, not as a hostage to hunger, but as a pilgrim to a shrine, because the chosen ones do not merely attract, they anoint the ground so that anyone who stands there remembers how whole they are allowed to be. You understand that touch begins long before skin, and so you master the subtler textures, how your voice lands like velvet on a hazardous edge, how your attention holds without pinning, how your humor opens doors without shoving people through them. There is a haptic kindness in your presence. It teaches the body that it will not be handled as content for your story, that it is safe to be both radiant and particular in the same breath. When the nervous system understands that your proximity will not set a tab to be paid with pieces of self-respect, desire stops stumbling over its own shoes. It stands up. It faces you. It speaks plainly. The plainness itself becomes magnetic because it is rare to want and be whole at the same time. Practice restraint as a musician practices silence. The note you don't play is not absence, it is architecture. You measure the measure, waiting for the beat that makes a step inevitable instead of impressive. This is not coyness, it is the mercy of timing. Timing prevents thrill from becoming theft. Theft steals what it cannot sustain. Timing teaches the moment to sustain itself. You conduct with the baton of integrity. When levity arrives, you let it ring without using it as camouflage. When gravity arrives, you let it speak without awarding it a crown.